Hello everyone, this is Mohammed from Python Ninja YouTube channel, and in this tutorial we will learn all about Python Iterator. So Python provides us with decent ways to efficiently loop over iterable object. Again, the iterable object is about list and tuple, dictionary or string. So to loop over iterable object we use the for loop, okay, or while loop. Here we give the syntax for loop. Okay, so for example, we have for I in iterable object. For example, if this iterable object comprises integer, or if this iterable object comprises a list or a string. Also, the iterable object, again, we insist to this because some attendees here ask about the iterable object again and again. And we remind that the iterable object is a type of Python data structure, comprises lists, tuples, strings, dictionaries, or items of dictionaries, ranges. For example, we have ranges of numbers, okay, or any iterable that is used inside the for loop. Let us recap together which type of iterable object we can conduct looping. For example, if I have a list of cities here, for example, I have Milan, I have Paris, and I have, for example, here Amsterdam. Okay, and I can loop over this iterable object, which is stored in cities variable. For example, I can say for city cities, then I can print city. For that, I can loop over the iterable object of type list. Okay, if this is presented, for example, a tuple, I can do the same in the tuple. If instead of a list or tuple of strings, I have numbers, okay, for example, I have a tuple of numbers, this like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I will use the right syntax for integer I, and the numbers I can print or loop over this iterable object, and I can print them again. Also, I can loop over the key and value of a dictionary. For example, for key and value in this dictionary, I will include it here. Okay, for example, I say this one, and the value for the key one is 1, and I have 2, and for this key, the value is 2. So I have the key and value, I use dot items, okay. Then I want to print, for example, key. Then I want to add this string separator, and I want to print the value, and I can execute this. I printed 1 and 2, and here we assign K and V for the 1 and 2, okay, and we use the item of the dictionary. So we can loop over list, we can loop over tuple, we can loop over dictionary. I can loop also over string. For example, for the letter L in my name, for example, this is a string, then I can print the letter, each letter of my name. Okay, what I can also do, I can loop over a text file. For example, if I have a text file, okay, I place a text file inside the main directory here, and if we open this text file, I inserted here, I live in Netherlands, so I can loop over the lines. For line open of what I want to open this text file. Please go back to previous tutorials. I have like sequence of tutorials about text in Python, okay, and or file in general, how to open file. Then I can print also each line, and I want to print in the same line. For example, I can use this keyword argument and equal if I want to print in the same line. For example, if I go here and I can say for example, I'm 36 years old. Okay, and now if I execute this line, then I printed each word. If I remove this, then I will see that there will be a print here. Okay, so I can loop over the line of text inside a text file also, beside the key and value of a dictionaries, beside the tables, beside the list. I can also loop over the byte string if you have some data represented in a byte string, for example, for B in byte. You know how we represent the byte string. We can use B small, and we can warp this inside this quotation. For example, this is my name, but not in the vanilla string, but it's from the byte string, and I can print this B, and it will print to me the corresponding ASCII, okay, code for each letter. Okay, so if you want to print the integers that representing the ASCII code of each letter, then you have to wrap your text inside the byte string. Okay, so again, the byte string, what we will see here, list of numbers here. Each number represents the integer value of the letter. Okay, that representing the ASCII code for each letter. I can also loop over a set of numbers, but look at this. This will be this will return error if I will use that like this. If I am, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is scientifically incorrect. I want to print I, then I will have error because integer is not iterable. Okay, so we cannot iterate over this number. So if I want to insist iterating over the integer, then I can convert it to a list, and then I can convert this to integer if I want to have the numbers in the integer. The fact is that these numbers, okay, integer or float, are not immutable. We cannot loop over this number, so we have to, or we must convert this to a string, or we can do like we can unpack the number. If I have the number, for example, here 1, 2, 3, 4, I can use the list comprehension. Okay, for example, we have list of digits, okay, which will be equal integer, okay, of I, okay, for I in the list. If you want to make this in another way around, you can do like this also. Instead of the for loop, okay, you can use the list comprehension. Okay, but we have here integer because we have here integer I for I, and not list, it should be string here. And now we converted this number into a list, and each item is represented as an integer. Okay, if you don't need to use a for loop, or if you want, if you don't, if you want to convert to incorporate list comprehension. Okay, but now let us back when I said like this for the letter in Muhammad like this. Okay, I want to print I. Okay, what is the, sorry, it should be letter not I, sorry for this mistake. So how this for loop is executed? Okay, I iterate over each item of this string, and I printed this. Okay, but how this is implemented? Okay, and in Python. In Python, really, there are two methods. One is called iter, okay, and the other is called next. Okay, that like abstract the usage of for loop. Let us represent this, okay, in real example. So when I introduce cities, I introduce 3 cities here: Milan, I will say Paris, and I will include list income. Okay. Now, if I want to use the vanilla method, which is not for loop, or if I want to use the method that is formulate for loop, meaning that I will use iter and next. If I use iter and next, then I can compensate for loop. What I have to do, I have to convert this city list into iterable object. Okay, what does that mean? I can say iter, for example, cities. Okay, just like this. Iter city equal iter. Okay, and this iter, if you press enter, then you will have for loop. But this iter compensate for loop. I can say for this list of cities, I want to convert this to iterable object. So if we print this iter, it will show you more. It will show you itr. Sorry, this iterable object. It will show you the memory address, okay, of the object. So this object of type iterator, and this is in-demand iterator because in the iter pack it works in generator. In advanced tutorial, we will introduce generator in like more comprehensive way. But now you have to learn that we can neglect for loop, and we can design on-demand iterator object using iter, okay, and we pass the iterable object inside this. But consider that by this way we can unpack the result inside this object using next. For example, I can print next, okay, which is the method that is used to recall items that is located inside this object. I want to recall the next of the iter. We move one step forward, and we have Milan. So I want to like remove this print. So the first next brings me the first item. If I want to have another next, then I will move to the next item. So this is typically how for loop works in Python. It creates a iterable object, and it does, okay, like next, okay, it increases the index of the next. Okay, so now we increase the index of the next another time, so we will have the method done. But if I will have another next, then I will have a stop iteration error, meaning that we will give limitations for this next function if we will include it in our program to be within the length of the iterable object. So this is how technically iterable object works in Python, okay? And how can we unpack the result from the iterable object? Note that if we will create for loop now, for example, for item m, this iterable object, there will be no result here. Okay, so if I will print item, I will print nothing. This is because when I create iterable object and I loop it, so by this way I loop when I use next, it allows me to loop it for once, and it like remove this from the memory when I reach to the last index. So this will no longer hold items located inside the memory, and this is the very, very good, like important technique, because we don't need to store this big iterable object in the memory and compensate resource for nothing. So for modern applications or for modern like AI libraries, we will see iter and next used widely because it will use to optimize the memory once I will do looping inside this iterable object. Okay, so now let us, like, if you have anything, so for example, if you have list of numbers, okay, instead of strings, you will face the same thing. Okay, and let us remove this, and now I printed this, and I can here iterate over the last index, which will be 5. If I will do another one, then I will have this error. Remember that we learned together wrapping the code within a try except to handle the exception if we have a stop iteration error. Okay, so it's a good practice to handle the code or to wrap your code inside the try except. For example, I can do like this. If I want to loop over all items, I can use a while loop here. For example, let's see, while true. Okay, what I will do, I will try. Okay, try what? I will try to print the next. Okay, the next of this iter object. Okay, now this will go to infinite loop. Okay, and each time we'll look for the first item inside located inside this object. But if I will have the stop iteration error, I will use this. Except stop iteration, I will have a message and the break after that. Okay, or without message, I can break. Okay, break like this. Let us see. Then I have now if this 4 items. Okay, wrapped inside try except or exception or exception handling, just to alleviate the stop iteration error that I have now, and I will be able to iterate over all items of the iterable object just using one next. There is no need to repeat next statement many times. Okay. Now, just to understand more about the iterable object and how can this iter work. How can this iter work in Python, or this is what I will speak now is more advanced in the modern Python versions, like the version greater than 3.3 or 3.5, but especially the versions like behind the 3.3, there is an abstract class, okay, which is called collections. Okay, so what I will do here, I will import collection. Inside this collections, there is ABC. ABC is an abstract class, meaning that you can do inheritance, but you cannot make an instance. Okay, from this abstract class, we can build. Okay, we can build the iterable function like this. Okay, let us see how. Okay, just I want to keep this as example. I want in the top import collections. Okay, and I want to have this implementation. Let us also import the collection.abc as it. Okay, not just collection. Just I want to import this abstract class. I will create the class that is called my iterable. Okay, I do not need to use iter. I want to use my iterable. I want to design. Okay, my iterable. So this will be coming from collection.abc.iterable. Okay, so I am inheritance. I do inheritance. Sorry, I am inherit now from the collection.abc.iterable. Okay, now what I want to do now, I want to pass an object like this. Okay, and I want to pass the iterable, so I need, when I will create this instance, I want to define the constructor. Okay, because when I will create the instance, I have to pass my object. I want to give it tag as object, and I want to store this object. Okay, in this case, and beside the object, I want to also before doing anything, I want to store the object and does this check if this object not an instance. Okay, if this object is not an instance from iterable, meaning that if this is not a string or tuple or range of numbers. Okay, so if this not an instance, which means that this object and this instance coming from collections. Okay, sorry, collections.abc.iterable, then meaning that if the object that I will pass inside this is not of type of collection.abc.iterable, what I will do, we learn together in exception handling to raise error. Okay, then we will raise the value, or let us we will raise type error, and we will say here a message. We will show the message, for example, object, okay, must be iterable, okay, iterable, like this. Now, but if the object is iterable, then I want to also introduce an index, index equal 0. Okay, this index will help me now when I want to use next. Okay, so the index is important because I want to increase the index to point to the next item. What I need to do now inside this class, there is a special method called iter. Okay, and this iter, what will does, it will add self dot index equal 0. It will release the value of index and make this to 0, and it will return self. Okay, it's like a chain method. Okay, so this will return self, meaning that it will create like iterable object of of this instance. Okay, or of the instance I will create. Then I will have iter, and I will have also next, and for this next I will check. Now, because I want to check the length, okay, to prevent the stop iteration error, I have to check the length. If the length is greater than this, the iterable, then I have to stop. Okay. Now, if self dot index, okay, is greater than or equal the length, okay, the length of what? The length of self dot object, sorry. Okay, so if the index, when we do next and next and next, I want to see this number. If this number is greater than the length of the object or equal the length of the object, then I will raise a stop iteration error. Else, what I have to do, I will say the result, okay, will be self that object. I want to use indexing now of self dot end. Sorry, of self dot index. Okay, now look at this. Now suppose I have this iterable which comprises 4. The length here will be 4. Okay, then the length which we compare here is 4. Okay, now the self index should be from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. But if we will go to 4, which means that it will go to another item that is not located, meaning that this will go to the equal or greater than the length of the object, then we will have there is error. Otherwise, what I have to do, I have to use a slice indexing here to retrieve each item in the object based on the index. And what I have to do in the last thing, self.index, actually should be increased plus equal 1. Okay, and finally I will return the result. So this is how this iter, okay, this is how this iter and next is implemented in the back end of the Python. We have two special methods, iter and next, and we introduce the next. For example, I can say here iterable. I will let us to say like iterable equal an instance from my iterable, which is this one, and I have to pass this object when I will say this object is sorry, this should be nums, not cities, just to give right like notations and naming. And when I say nums here, then I want to print now the next, or I can say stop and I can repeat this. Okay, I want to use the same implementation here, I will run, then I will have this. If I want to just print separator here, then I can use this one. Now, this for loop coming from the original implementation, okay? But when I utilize the original implementation of this iter and next, and I designed my own, okay, a class, okay, which will compensate this. If you want to use your own, then you will have the same implementation if you have the same numbers. Remember that if you pass here, for example, we have range, we have range of 10, okay. Remember, range of 10 is an instance, okay, of collection.iterable. I can iterate over distance, so now no need to have this anymore, okay. Other than these numbers, I will keep this, okay. Now we can iterate over the range of numbers. I can iterate over my name Mohammed. I can iterate over my name Mohammed, but I cannot. I cannot do like iteration over this integer. Remember, integer is immutable. We cannot do loop in this, but I can do loop inside the range of this number. I can do loop inside this list of numbers, or like this. I can do this. So this is all about the iterable. Remember that iterable object in Python plays very important role, since it offers to me an object that is used on demand, meaning that I can loop it once, then it will release it from the memory. Okay, and remember that looping through very big pile of data will not be or is considered like not useful in practice. What we can do, we can use this as a iterable. We can loop on demand, and we review together how can we use the built-in iter and next method, or how can we extend this method according to our choice, as what I introduced in this. And we recover together which iterable object that we can do in Python. Thank you.